Hello, Jolly here from Jolly Natural Skincare, and today I'm going to show you how to make liquid washing liquid. Okay, a little while ago I showed you how to make washing powder for your laundry. Today we're going to try and make washing liquid for your laundry. That's what I'm trying to say. So I have never made this before, but I've always wanted to, so let's give it a shot. So we start with 1 cup of grated soap, and again I've got my old, powdery soap that crumbled, it didn't turn into a solid bar. Okay, it's sort of kind of, near about's 1 cup. Oops, bump the camera. To that we add 4 cups of water. This happens to be boiled water. I don't know if it'll really matter if it's cold water. Although I suppose it might help the soap dissolve quicker. We turn the heat on and we stir until it's dissolved. So I imagine it'll be much like that other video where it turned this sort of nice white creamy sort of liquid in the previous video. So I'm using an olive oil soap. When my mum made soap products, she used to use that yellow soap. I can't think of the name. Velvet? Maybe? Velvet soap? I'm not sure. Buy it from the supermarket. I think it was a relatively natural bar of soap. Again, I haven't checked the ingredients in a long time, so I can't quite recall. I mean, look, if you've got a bar of soap, any old bar of soap, it's worth a shot using it. It's just that some are sort of more natural than others. And the whole point to making these types of recipes is that all this stuff that gets washed down our drains is a more environmentally friendly option. So I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like the soap bits are getting smaller. Sort of less and less in there. A little bit hard to tell with the bubbles. So what I'm doing here is pressing the big clumps up against the side of the pot to help them dissolve quicker. And I'm using what they call a non-reactive saucepan. That's one with a thick base. So a reactive saucepan is a thin-based saucepan that if you added oil to, it's so thin it will just catch on fire really quick and burn. Whereas this one here, you can put oil in the bottom of it, take ages to catch on fire and burn. That's my description of it anyway. If you have another description that you think describes it better, feel free to let me know. And again, different soaps will dissolve at different paces as well. Like that velvet soap that my mum has, the yellow one, may dissolve quicker or slower than this. If you've ever made liquid soap, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear how you found it, what sort of recipe you used. Was it a similar one to this or completely different? And how did you find it washed your clothes? And do you prefer liquid, laundry liquid, to laundry powder? I feel like maybe laundry liquid would be less likely to leave white clumpy bits on your clothes, maybe? But then again, maybe white clumpy bits on your clothes is purely me and something to do with how I wash. Such as washing blankets with towels, for example. And then the blankets come out all fuzzy. Or the school pants for the boys. Right, so there's still a few little lumps in there, but we are getting there. And whilst that's happening, the next step is to add 1 cup of borax to our recipe. Now I'll find out some information about borax and put it down the bottom of the video. It kind of looks like a salt. So I always thought this was sort of a drain cleaner. Although here it says multi-purpose cleaner and deodorizer. So, alright, measure out 1 cup. And what I'm going to do is add the same portion of borax as I did with the soap powder. That's about the same quantity as the soap I used. So now that I've left it for a bit, I can see the soapy bits are floating on the surface. Shows me they're not quite dissolved. It's really hard to tell with all the bubbles. So it says to turn off the heat and keep stirring. Whilst I add the borax, it says to keep stirring until it's cool, so that's going to take a long time. Let's see what happens. And of course you can add some fragrance to this, a tablespoon of whatever fragrance you like, eucalyptus, orange. I've talked about the certain fragrances and things in previous videos. Some have antibacterial properties which are good for clothes washing. Good for things like socks and jocks and stuff that, you know, get a lot of bacteria activity going on. Then again, maybe you prefer to have washing that just smells really pretty. So something like strawberry fragrance, for example. So when it says stir till it's cool, I would say that once you can touch the pot without it burning your hands, that's when it's cool, that's when it's ready. And obviously when you store this, you want to store it in a well-labelled jar, just in case somebody decides it looks like a yummy drink, which it's unlikely to happen, unless maybe toddlers, in which case labelling is probably irrelevant to them, but you know, keep out of reach obviously. But for example, if I put this in the laundry, excuse me, hubby won't know what it is. So I would have to label it so that he knows that he could use this in the washing. So you can see here it's thickening up a little bit too. It's not super thick. That may happen over time. And whilst this is cooling down, even though I'm meant to keep stirring it while it cools down, I'm going to nick off for a moment and find a fragrance to add to it. I am going to go with eucalyptus. Sort of use about that much, not quite a tablespoon. only because I personally find it a bit strong, but it will be interesting to see once it's cool if that scent is as strong or not. I found that with the washing powder, for example, the scent that I made, I don't find it strong enough on the washing. But interestingly, adding that eucalyptus oil seems to have made it thicker. Can you see that? And sometimes fragrances do have that effect on any liquid soap that you're making. They can thicken them up. And now that I think about it, if borax is a deodorizer, it possibly has some antibacterial properties of its own. The eucalyptus smells really nice. You could even blend a little bit of orange in there, a little bit of peach, lemongrass. The possibilities are endless. And of course, if you want some scent ideas, feel free to leave a comment. I have a few blends in my recipe books. So for example, around the home I use things like amor scent, and that's things like vanilla, amber and musk, or jasmine, vanilla and amber, things like that. Beautiful scents. I'm always making room sprays. And of course I have to choose a nice bottle. What will I store it in? I'll find something in my vast glass jar collection. And of course now I'm out of soap, I'm going to have to make some more. That'll be fun. Maybe that can be something that you all want to learn. Let me know in the comments below. And again, while this is cooling, I'm just going to nick off and have a quick look at what jars I'm going to store it in. Okay, so I've grabbed this jar mainly because I like, corked jars. Helps if it doesn't detach from the lid, but I liked corked jars that I can just pull off the cork and use. So I shall put it in there when the time comes. Let's have a look at it now. Oh, it's looking amazing. Now it'll be curious too to see if there's some sort of bubbly part. Dissolves away over time as well. And I wonder what would happen, because it says keep stirring until it cools. The curious part of me wonders what would happen if I didn't stir at all, or if I stopped. And now it's turning a whitish colour, look at that. That's really cool. It's starting to look like actual washing liquid. Seems to be thickening up as well as it cools. So perhaps once it's fully cooled it will be quite viscous. And if that's the case, you can always play around with water quantities, add a cup extra if you feel like it. That's the beauty about recipes, it's nice to have a play around and adapt a little. Look at that. So there you go, how to make laundry liquid, washing liquid. As I've said, you store it in a well labelled bottle next to your washing machine and use as desired. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave some below. I'm always happy to hear from you, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Okay, so I've allowed this to cool, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but when I move this over, it feels a little like the thick white part is floating on the surface. So maybe it's why you have to stir until it's fully cooled, or maybe it just happens naturally. So it might be more evident once I tip it in the jar. Now this is the fun part. How to make a mess. Whoops. I did say how to make a mess. So what's this, 750 ml? It'll be interesting to see if it separates within the bottle. And if that's the case, then maybe it'll be one of those situations where you shake well before use. So I'll leave it to sit for a while and see how we go. And if you give it a shot and you have some sort of similar situations, let me know. Either way, if you give it a shot, let me know how you go. I'd really love to know how it worked for you.